It's now about 4:12 a.m. I was actually planning on starting this video series tomorrow with an actual script and a bit more polished. Maybe I'd think about being fully dressed or putting on some clothes, makeup, that sort of thing, but considering recent events that have happened within the past few hours, I feel like it necessitates my starting this series early. For the past few days, I have been putting together my thoughts and ideas for a video series called Why You Should Not Go to Work Today, a Reason to Revolt Instead of Submit. And with the events that have happened in Ferguson, Missouri, and with some of my friends and comrades being down there, I have decided to launch this one day early. So, approximately 7 hours ago, a police officer, or a group of police officers, opened fire on a 22-year-old black man who allegedly started shooting at them. This was during the protest of a 1-year anniversary of the extrajudicial murdering of Mike Brown, the black child, in Ferguson, Missouri, that sparked off an uprising. And really over the past 10 years, I've been a part of these protests and these organizations and these actions, demonstrations, and even a few direct actions to challenge the fucked up, racist, violent capitalist system that we live under. But I mean, I feel like the time for protest, and I feel like the time for dialogue, and I feel like the time for asking nicely of our rulers has come to an end. So at this point, we've reached a critical mass of people who understand the way that this system works, the way that it's stacked against us. And so the reason you shouldn't go to work today is, no matter where it is you work, the taxes that they take from your paycheck go to militarize our city's police. The reason you shouldn't go to work today is because some of the taxes that they take out of that goes towards the election campaigns, including of racist white liberals like Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders, who was bravely interrupted today by some black radicals in Seattle. The reason you shouldn't go to work today is because I can almost guarantee that in some way, any private sector job you have benefits or profits from prison labor and the prison industrial complex. I live in a city that is 30% black. I live in Chicago, Illinois. Think of what would happen if, regardless as to whether our unions told us that it's okay or not, if all black people in the city of Chicago decided to not go to work, decided to instead be in their communities, opening up spaces of healing, of resistance, in the streets demonstrating, taking it to the government, the banks, the prisons, and all those who profit from them. Think of what could happen if everybody dropped out of this violent, racist, capitalist system. Or even if a large portion, we don't need everybody, but if a large enough portion of people dropped out of this system, stopped trying to make it day by day, stopped being afraid of what would happen when our racist, sexist, violent bosses, if they would fire us, and if instead we took what we knew we deserved, if instead we built community and intercommunalism and systems of support with one another, if instead of going to work we spent time teaching one another about our collective history, about our radical history, we'll all win. It's often said that the first casualty of the American Revolution was a black man, a former slave named Crispus Attucks. Now, Crispus Attucks was involved in a spontaneous demonstration. This was not run by any sort of organization. This wouldn't be today. This wouldn't be, nobody would be going to an NAACP rally. Nobody would be going to a Black Lives Matter rally or any of these other organizations or groups. This was a spontaneous uprising of some individuals, including Indians, freed slaves, and poor folks, against the colonies, against colonialist power. British soldiers fired into the crowd, and the first person to be killed was a black man named Crispus Attucks. And this sparked off the revolution. This sparked off a revolutionary fervor. Now, that's not to endorse in any way the liberal bourgeois revolution that came out of the the British colonies gaining independence. I'm sorry. Again, I'm very tired. I have no script. So Crispus Attucks was killed, and the British soldiers were defended by John Adams, the same John Adams as the second president of the United States. Yeah, their attorney was John Adams. But that being said, what sparked off a revolution was the murder of this black man. Now, who's going to be the next Crispus Attucks? Maybe we could say that it was Mike Brown. Maybe we could say it was Rekia Boyd, or any other black person or indigenous person who was killed by these police. These police exist for one purpose, and that's to maintain the power of the rich. That's why when you call the cops in a poor neighborhood, when you really need them, oftentimes they won't show up until they're gone, until the whole situation's over. Don't go to work today. Skip work. Get together with your friends, with people you trust. Do some reading. Do some reading about revolution. Read the autobiography of Assata Shakur. Read about revolutions in the history, the Cuban Revolution. Read about in Spain when workers managed their own society without the use of money, without the use of coercion, without any sort of central government or capitalist economy. Read about, if you're of African descent, read about your ancestors. Read about the egalitarian societies that we had centuries before any white man have ever heard of ever even mentioned the idea of communism or anarchism or anything like that. We've had that. We've had that before colonialism. We've had that before slavery. Talk to your friends, your family, your associates about how this entire nation was built upon the genocide of indigenous people and upon the labor of my ancestors. And start to think, start to question, start to wonder, how much different is that from today? Your boss says that you need them. Your boss at work says that they're so benevolent to keep you in this job. Fuck them. They need you. They won't make a dime without your work. Your landlord says that you're lucky to have a place to live, that they're benevolent enough to rent this from you. Who gives them the right to own a building or a piece of land and make you required to pay them your too small wages in order to have a roof over your head? Fuck them. You don't need your boss, they need you. You don't need your landlord, they need you. You don't need the banks, they need you. And they do nothing but exploit us. So it's time to make your decision. And I understand that not everybody will follow this suggestion. Not everyone will take this suggestion to heart, but what I will say is that if a small number of people do, it only emboldens others. And then others take this up. And then more. So one day we have about 20 people in the street, a few dozen in the street, then we have hundreds. Within weeks, we have thousands. If everybody drops out of this system and actively works to subvert it, we will win.